Texas Tech with the decision. Felix Ojo from Mansfield Lake Ridge High School commits to Texas Tech. There was this report initially, which really kind of jumped the gun a little bit. 3 years, $5.1 million. He commits to Texas Tech. Ohio State, Florida, Michigan, and UT, among others, were a part of that. And the reaction to this was, I just sat back and I was like, well, I couldn't play golf because it was raining most of the entire weekend, but my goodness, the reaction. We're going to get to that in a minute. It ends up being the possibility of 3 years, $5.1 million. The agent said something that probably, I'm not so sure, maybe because it's going to give him some more money down the road and clients. But in the end, not that it's still not great money, $775,000 a year with a verbal understanding that Tech would renegotiate up to $5 million if things shift back to what we have called and others have called the Wild West setup prior to the house settlement and the clearinghouse.
Either way,
yeah.
I mean,
it's still,
if you called me up and said, Paul, 775, I'd say, let me get back to you. And then I'll pretend that I'm not going to come back and say yes. And then I'll call back in a half hour. Is that long enough to make somebody wait? An hour?
You're dumb if you do.
I mean, I don't know. I just want to make sure I don't call back in 2 minutes and be like, yeah, because then I lose my negotiating for the future. But if you called and said 775, I'd be like, well, I got to talk it over with my family and the important people in my life. And then I would just sit in a room and wait until it seemed like I did that.
Until they deposit some of the money.
Until I'd say, yeah, sure, that's fine.
This was a big deal. Texas Tech, Craig, as we know, having a huge run, and there's other news we'll have with another news with them in it. But this started a firestorm because it was not a blue blood school. But what a great pickup for Tech. He's got work to do. He's a project in some ways, but also he is the number one rated player out of the state of Texas for 2026.
Yeah, I mean, I think the project thing's a lot of people trying to rationalize this. They were disappointed. So now it's all of a sudden, well, he's not that good. I saw a lot of that. Or he's a project. Or we didn't want him on our team, even though guys have done the exact same things. When they chose your team, you accepted them with open arms and they weren't a problem. But this guy didn't choose your team and did that, and he is a problem. And so I saw a lot of that over the weekend. I don't know. I mean, you're always feeding us stuff off Twitter. I stay off of it most of the time. And I dipped my toes in there for a couple minutes here and there, and I saw a lot of the talk about this. I mean, first things first, it's a tremendous pickup for Texas Tech. Let's start there. I mean, that's where it should start. It's a great pickup, and the offensive line, as we know, has been problematic in the past, and they are focusing. And I think especially as they have to refocus sort of where their resources go with the new house settlement. Although they are obviously making plan Bs for if the house settlement doesn't work, as it shows right here, they have plan Bs if in case it goes back to the Wild West that they took advantage of the past year. But they are going to really pour money into the trenches and try to solidify themselves the way that championship teams have solidified themselves in pretty much every year in years past is a defensive line, offensive line. That's what wins you titles, and they're going to have skill guys. So I think that they're getting a huge boon here in a big 5-star, number one rated.
That's far.
So much forgiveness. Wait, did you say forgiveness like far or forgiveness like forgiveness? Forgiveness. Forgiveness. Forgiveness.
I'm hearing far.
Forgiveness. Like forgiveness. Forgiveness? Forgiveness.
I'm still hearing far, but whatever.
Introducing Stealth 2 with more carbon for more forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Just hit it.
TaylorMade Golf.
Offensive tackle prospect. I mean, that's an amazing get for Joey McGuire and company. Now, on the flip side, if you just aren't basking in the glory of being a Tech fan and here's this big pickup to go along with all the other recent big pickups and the 4 stars that you're getting and all of that, there is the looking at this and looking at the money and kind of side-eyeing it a little bit. But, I'm just one of those that it is where we are now, and it's above board. I like the fact that they're actually reporting the money now, even though they didn't report it correctly the first time, apparently, or Tech and the manager need to talk a little bit more because they weren't on the same page based on the initial reporting. But regardless, it was kind of refreshing to see that. It was odd to see it, but it was refreshing to just kind of because now with the house settlement, you go, all right, he's making $775, and they've got in theory, 19 million plus to spend on the rest of it. And I know they'll have their NIL where they do what everybody else is going to do and they cheat the cap and do all that. But I mean, in theory, this is 1/20th of your salary cap, basically, right? So, if you're into that sort of thing, now you have numbers to go off of and you can kind of tinker around with that in your head and enjoy that aspect of the game that's now out there. But yeah, it's weird to see just that out front the way that it is. And it's weird to see Tech, among others. Miami was the poster child before that people got pissed off about the way they were spending their money. But it's weird to see it all out front and to see contract details and to see a school that's not normally lending these types of prospects, not ever in their history, is now beating out Texas and Georgia and Florida. And they're doing it because of culture. They're also doing it clearly because of money, but they're doing it in a big way, and it's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. And that's been fascinating to see because I don't remember outside of Miami. There were complaints about Miami, but maybe a little bit of blowback on Ohio State when their initial salary figure last year, but I don't remember that being a big thing. Maybe it's because I'm just too far south that we don't dwell on that this way they do up north. So instead, we dwelled on that report on Texas for like 2 weeks that had their number that was super high. But yeah, it's just a lot to adjust to and get used to, but it's fascinating. And this is an incredible pickup for Texas Tech. And if they can just go win some games this year, and by games, I mean like at least 8, like in the regular season, then the sky's the limit for them. And even if they don't, I still think the sky's the limit because of the way things are set up now. So this is huge.
Well, one of the things that, it's going to be interesting because it's always been knocks on places like Tech is where a place is, or they don't have this or they don't have that. Well, look, when you have the financial backing that they do and you can pay people what they're paying people and not blink about it and negotiate in good faith toe-to-toe with these other, look, Target didn't always have 1 billion stores, but when they came along and Kmart was like, hey, who the hell are you? And they're like, well, sorry, we're going to open a store here. That's what Tech is now. They're now on the scene. So yeah, they haven't been for a while. Doesn't mean they don't deserve to be. And if you can be competitive in a marketplace, then that's what it's going to be. So fans may be like, I would never go to Lubbock for $775,000. You would eat crap off the street in Lubbock. Believe me, that's a lot of money. So yeah, there's going to be all that traditional, like, oh, this is only about NIL. Well, look, guess what? About 50% of it now has to be.
I'm going to tell you something right now. Anybody who you see who says they would not go and have fun in Lubbock, Texas as a college kid making the $750,000 has never been there and has no idea what they're talking about. Yeah. They have absolutely zero idea what they're talking about. If you can't go to Lubbock as a 20-year-old, 19-year-old, 21-year-old, 22-year-old making $750,000 playing big-time football at a school that's obsessed with it. If you don't think that's going to be the time of your effing life, then you don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what to tell you, but you don't know what you're talking about. So every time I see this now, I roll my eyes and I go, they don't know what they're talking about because they get stuck up on this Lubbock thing and they don't understand that it's a great college town. They don't get it, I feel like. And Shahan's article a couple weeks ago got a lot of play, and the people who know, and that's why he got such a big reaction is because the people that know. And I know because I experienced it myself, but I was not making that type of money, and I had a hell of a time. Yeah. So I can speak from experience that I know these guys I know what they're being sold on. I know they actually have other things now in play, and I can see guys before the money being convinced to go there, and I know guys that had a great time before NIL was ever a thing, much less making nearly $1 million a year. So that's just insanity.
Okay, so the thing that you knock in a lot of the Big 12 towns, like Lubbock or Ames or Manhattan or the ones that are kind of out. Waco,
even though it's in the middle of,
out far of things. Okay. It's because on the weekends you used to have to okay, if I really want to go home for 4th of July, while I'm working out in Lubbock, getting ready for the season, or it's Labor Day. Well, it's not going to be the Labor Day, but it's the long weekend, a holiday. Yeah. I want to go home for a holiday. It's a 3-day weekend. I want to go do that. Driving, well, 2 of your days are going to be driving. Well, guess what? If I'm making $775K, I can hop over the airport and it's not a problem.
Yeah, you can be in Dallas in 45 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like it's way overblown. And I understand back in the day to some extent when you didn't have the benefit of money and all that. But yeah, I just think that's a telltale sign of somebody who has absolutely no idea what they're talking about when it comes to Tech and Lubbock is when they start playing, well, it's in Lubbock card. over a guy who's going to make nearly $1 million. Anyways, enough of that nonsense. This is a huge pickup. You and I, we all know why it's rubbing people the wrong way. And look, Tech's going to have to perform. If not, they're going to be the butt of every joke known to man throughout the entire college football season. The moment they drop like that second game, if it's early enough, they're going to be the talk of the town, but just in the opposite way of the way they've been all offseason, because now they have a target on their back. They know that. They're embracing that. They're ready for that. And they should be, because they've added a lot of really great players. But, yeah, I'm ready for the talk to end and the walk to begin, and we're getting close to that, although we're about to do way more talking over the next couple of days, because it is talking season, as someone once coined. But the talk is getting louder and louder about Texas Tech, and moves like this are only going to make it grow louder. But if they go out there and perform, then they're just they're scratching the surface, really.
He'll be a 2-star by tomorrow. And here's another thing. I saw some of it, and I actually don't get into the weeds as much, but I did see some of the reactions that are bitter about a player, an 18-year-old or whatever it is, if they commit or decommit or whatever. And every school gains commitments from others who are committed, et cetera. But one of the funniest ones, and this kind of puts things in perspective, somebody on their timeline said, I just didn't like his film, like just some random fan. And then 2 or 3 days later, can't wait for the commitment of Ojo, and also turn time, I think his name is. We're going to have 2, 4, 5-star tackles by the end of Saturday. We are loading up. And then all of a sudden, I didn't like what I saw in his film. Good for him. Good for him. Good for Texas Tech as they pick up a 5-star, the number 1 player in the state of Texas class of 2026.
Yeah, and they had a bunch of other big pickups last week, but he was obviously the biggest one, literally. And they have a couple of big-time anchors at the tackle position for the next few years, so long as they lock these guys down and keep them in the fold all the way through signing day. But, yeah, it's a lot of sour grapes, as you might imagine, especially when you get to the bigger schools who are used to having their way. Or if they do lose, they don't lose to a school like Texas Tech. And if they do lose, they don't lose because of money to a school like Texas Tech. And so it's a thing for a lot of people to have to learn how to deal with, and not many are dealing with it too well. So, we'll see, because those are the types of fans that the moment they lose a game or two, that's when they're going to be on the attack mode. See? And so it's up to Joey and his staff to go win some football games this year. And if they don't, we know there's going to be a lot of egg on their face. But in the meantime, everything's looking up, and the future is looking really bright for Texas Tech. And look, there's not parts of this that I just love wholly. I mean, I do think it's kind of weird that we're in this space of talking about contracts and buying guys and like this. It's just a weird space. We're all getting used to it, but it is the reality now. And so Felix Ojo is not the first guy we've heard about with details like this, and he's definitely not going to be the last guy we hear about. And he's not the first guy that's rubbed big fan bases the wrong way. He's not going to be the last guy that does it. So I'm going to kind of sit back and just enjoy that there's somebody in the room that's kind of being the chaos agent and upending the norm. The blue bloods are unhappy, and you know what? Good. That means something kind of fun's happening, I believe.
Because they probably, most of the time, we didn't know what they were paying, but it was under the table. And they weren't the only ones. But Felix Ojo, congratulations on the decision. People can make fun of it. They can hate it. They don't like it the way it went down. Doesn't matter. Joey McGuire and Texas Tech got yet another highly ranked player. They had a hell of a week. By the way, speaking of highly ranked players, now, we don't get too deep into like class of 27. That's not even, that's a lot. But they also are about to get a decision from a 5-star edge, LaDamian Guyton, now predicted to go to Texas Tech. I could be wrong. Somebody correct me if you're a Tech fan that we have in the chat room, that his quarterback on the team this year at that school is already committed to Texas Tech. So there's a little connection there from his specific high school. And so there's another note right there.
Yeah, they were very well prepared for all this. Tech was, and now that they know what the rules are and how they can do it, they're just going to start rolling, I think, in this. And they've got a guy who is a head coach who is a really good recruiter, and he's really somebody you want to be in a room with. And so he's going to be able to go toe-to-toe with everybody. And of course, we've just spent a lot of time talking about the financial backing. So, yeah, I'm curious to see how this shifts when it comes to those blue-chip recruits, because there is a salary cap because of what they can spend, and because it will be easier. I think there's going to be a lot more talent dispersion. That doesn't mean that, like, you won't get a group that, LeBron James is this thing and decides to go to all one place together. But I mean, you've already seen when you've got 5 stars going to Tech, that never happens. When you've got 5 stars, 4 and 5 stars going to Sacramento State, like those are numbers. Those are numbers out of the pool, right? That aren't there anymore. That were there for
it's a different
about
time.
20 schools.
It's a different time.